Hello all, and welcome to another episode of Hyper Blue Reviews. I'm J-Town, and today's episode will focus on a PC game very near and dear to my heart, Barrow Hill, Curse of the Ancient Circle. Let's begin. Are you looking for a horror game to give you a scare this coming Halloween? Barrow Hill, Curse of the Ancient Circle is a pretty solid choice to fill that void. Barrow Hill, Curse of the Ancient Circle is a first-person point-and-click horror game that relies very heavily on a scary atmosphere and environment. It was developed by Shadow Tor Studios and published by Iceberg Interactive for the Steam release and Got Game for the PC. I'm not sure if there's a difference between the two published games, but for this review, I'll be focusing on the Got Game version. As you begin the game, you see that our nameless protagonist is on a leisurely drive through the Cornish landscapes heading into Barrow Hill. Fun fact, this setting is actually based on real geographical locations in Cornwall, England. We learned from the local radio DJ, Emma Harry, that tonight is the autumn equinox. The autumn equinox is an important date in the pagan calendar and forecasts many hours of darkness. As the DJ invites us to spend these hours tuned in with her, the main protagonist's car breaks down at the entrance of Barrow Hill. Unable to go back in the direction he came from due to mysterious forces, you need to solve the mystery of what is happening on the hill. You soon discover that Barrow Hill houses an ancient burial site with an entity that has been long forgotten. The locals are upset due to an archaeologist, Conrad Morse, digging in the Barrow Hill site. They are superstitious around disturbing the site, and we quickly learn that something is amiss when we reach the first location within the game. Upon learning that this unknown entity may have been potentially released from the burial site, the player is tasked with using hidden notes and items they find to restore peace to the hill. As previously stated, this game is a first-person point-and-click adventure. The player faces a direction until they click on one of the sides of the screen. If you want to get a different perspective in a room, you click on the right or left side of the screen. It takes a little bit to get used to, but it's pretty easy to move around. The game itself is fairly non-linear. You can begin searching for endgame MacGuffins as early as you want. Barrow Hill is a fun experience because there are plenty of hidden items to find within the game. This even includes Easter eggs. However, not every item has a purpose, but it's still fun to find them anyway. The puzzles the player has to solve range from simple to challenging. Some are pretty easy to figure out, for instance, you have to assemble a metal detector, while others are pretty tough. For example, you have to find the appropriate items to use as offerings. The last puzzle can be a real pain to figure out. If you don't collect enough information, you may receive the bad ending. However, if you pay attention to everything you read up to this point and figure things out, then you'll be awarded with a good ending. I honestly wish there was more to say about the gameplay, but, like other games I've reviewed, it's just pointing and clicking. There are certain scenes where you get to mix objects and items to make new items, but it doesn't really change anything in terms of the gameplay mechanics. You're still just pointing and clicking. Alright, I feel like I might have to get this out of the way now. I actually really like this game. This is one of the first point-and-click adventure games that I played, and it kind of set the bar for me. It's in the first-person perspective, so it's a departure from games like Dark Seed or Harvester, and it also has a great atmosphere, so there's always a feeling of tension. And given that you're pretty much alone throughout the entire game, there's also a feeling of isolation, which is perfect for any type of horror setting. I don't exactly know what it is that I really gravitate towards, mostly, aside from the ambiance and the isolation, but the game plays well and is all around fun for me. The environment gives off a creepy vibe, one that leaves you wondering if something is going to pop out at you. And that's where this game shines, and also where it falls a bit flat. Aside from the spooky environment and atmosphere, and that feeling of isolation, there isn't much to worry about in terms of entities chasing after you. The amount of things that actually pop out at you are between slim and none. There are exactly 2 spots where jump scares are programmed to occur, but they don't hurt you or otherwise hinder your progress. That being said though, there is a chance that the player is able to run into the Sentry Stone. The Sentry Stone is the unknown entity that I alluded to before. While the 2 jump scares don't amount to much, it's literally just like a small critter scurrying across the screen, the Sentry Stone adds tension to an otherwise empty game, for the most part. The Sentry Stone is an instant game over if it crosses your path. However, you really don't have to concern yourself about it. Throughout my playthroughs of the game, I only stumbled across the Sentry Stone when I purposefully went looking for it. The Sentry Stone can pop up sporadically, but I personally had to seek it out. That being said, after a somewhat humorous cutscene that introduces the Sentry Stone, you are left worrying about whether or not you will run into it in the main paths. And this brought me back to that sense of dread as I had to worry about running into the entity. If the player does run into the Sentry Stone and gets a game over, worry not, because you will be brought back to the screen right before you ran into it. Once you're back at that screen, if you progress to the next screen, then you'll get a game over again. But if you move to another area, the Sentry Stone will go away. Both endings to this game left me a little bit confused. Both are just a bunch of quick cuts of a city or Barrow Hill, and there just really isn't enough to differentiate between the two, in my opinion at least. Similar to the ending scenes, the animations used to denote talking characters is a series of jump cuts between various pictures. Sometimes the animation is even depicted via stop motion, like during cutscenes. I'm not sure if it was intended to be funny or not, but I did find the quick jump cuts and some of the stop motion pretty humorous. To me, it adds charm to the game and provides a more memorable experience. I will say this though, the jump cuts or stop motion is done 1,000 times better than Psycho Killer. But I guess that doesn't say much. I can forgive the lack of scares throughout the game because of the overall feeling of isolation and creepy atmosphere that the game provides. Which, as I said before, are the most important parts of a horror game in my opinion. I mean, horror games don't work if you're not invested in the environment you're set in. Even though the game does fall into some of the tired cliches of throwing something into the player's face and yelling, "Boo!" It's a rare occurrence and doesn't really subtract from the overall experience. The only downside for me is that I don't quite understand either of the endings. I understand there's a proper way to satisfy the Sentry Stone or legend, but I never understood what was implied by the ending cinematics. I originally purchased this game from Best Buy in around 2009 or so, and luckily it has been released on Steam, so now everyone can go out and enjoy it. I would highly suggest checking this quirky game out. It's only $8 at the time of writing this, but it frequently does go on sale. So, is this game going to wow anyone who hasn't played it yet? Probably not. The graphics are dated and the interface isn't the best, but I'm admittedly biased about this game because of the fond memories I have playing it. Ultimately, the game still provides a creepy environment and challenging puzzles, so I would highly recommend trying it out. So in my biased opinion, I give Barrow Hill, Curse of the Ancient Circle, 4 Sentry Stones out of 5. As always, thanks for watching.